So there's a place down there. You can see a little square hole from here. And I can't tell if you can see it or not, but it's where I put my hand, and you turn it, and you catch it, the yucky antifreeze that comes out, because you don't want the animals to be drinking it, and you have to put it in a receptacle and then turn it in somewhere, and I'll show you about draining the block. So there's a big nut. I'm going to have to turn it sideways and upside down and all that. That drains the block. That drains the block. So you want to drain the block. So when you get ready to take the motor out and you undo the heater hoses and stuff like that, you don't have water spilling all over you. The cooling system on these cars don't hold very much, about a gallon if they're not leaking in the radiator, and about a half a gallon, maybe another gallon, and all the hoses in the block combined. But as you can see, the yuckiness that come out when I took the block cap off to drain it. So copious amounts of flushing is what it'll need. For those of you who are purists and are going to ask that question, my book does not say what to torque that to. But considering I had to use that as a cheater pipe to make sure it came off, it's on there pretty tight. You'll want to keep those parts in a special place because of things like that on the bottom of the radiators, those little rubber bumpers. You almost have to have those. And you'll want to test your fans. Usually those fan motors on these Hondas last literally forever. If they quit working, it's usually because of the temperature sensor switch. It's not because the motor's gone bad. It's like those little plastic buttons on the brake or the clutch switch. That's what usually goes bad. It's the switch. It's not the electric motor itself. For you, again, for you Honda purists, know that this is not an EX motor. This is a standard 1.5. I put the EX intake manifold on it off of a 98 because I thought it looked cool. I will eventually put the 4 into 2 into 1 exhaust on this motor once I get it out and on my engine stand and all apart. I've already put a timing belt on it. I did that and a water pump before I fooled with it to make sure that there was no undue noise inside the motor. I'll have to take the harmonic balancer bolt, I'll have to make it loose again down there before I pull the motor out, because I did not replace the seals on the harmonic balancer crankshaft snout or the cam snout. I didn't want to just waste a seal on a motor that was junk to begin with, because I just didn't know. I'll make a note about this right now. This is the pin that holds the shift linkage in place. I had made a different tool out of a screw similar to this on an extension, so I could put it in there and catch this. As you can see, it's beveled on both sides. I even tried to drill it out, but I have one on the other car, and it drives it out. I don't know how well you can see that, but it expands. I'm gonna go over to the shift linkage. So there's the shift linkage. This pin goes in that hole. Not that you can see with my hands in the way. And the ideal is you drive that from way up between those round crazy motor mounts into that until it sticks through after you've taken that round keeper clip off, which is a pain in the tail. See if I can fix the lighting. Is that better? Hope I'm not making y'all too drunk. So, getting that pin out is treacherous because you don't want to tear up your pin or that shift rod. I mean, I have another one for another job I want to do, which gives me an idea. But this is the original one. I ended up just unbolting it completely from the shift lever so it wouldn't hang down and be in the way. Again, just to make note of something, this is the classic S20 transmission that's in those Hondas that you can see on the side where it says S20. This is the 5-speed manual that I took out of the other car. That's that crazy other motor mount that's in the way of that shift pin, and you have to go in like here or to the side or even down through there, down through here to get to it. It's in the craziest position. And please, whatever you do to the little transmission, you know, the book talks about changing the oil in these things. Well, I have a heads up for everybody if you didn't already know this. Apparently a lot of folks don't know it, or mechanic shops. These do not take engine oil. I'm sorry, they do not take standard gear oil. When I drained this out, you could smell it. It was gear oil. Like 80 or 90 weight gear oil. Something that you'd put in a regular transmission or the rear end of a pickup truck. These take, I'm pretty sure, 5W20 regular engine oil. I'll look it up in my book again tonight and make a better note of it. But if you're going to change the oil in this transmission, they take engine oil, not gear oil. You'll burn the stuff up in it eventually, and you cost your customers and yourself some fuel economy. So if you're ever taking your little car like this in, and they put gear oil in your car, and it's supposed to have engine oil in it, and you wonder why your fuel economy went down 5 miles per gallon, that's why. As with anything else, if you don't have a pair of jack stands, please go buy yourself a pair. Because if you don't, and you're working strictly under a hydraulic jack, they could fall on you. And if you were lucky, they would kill you instantly. If you're unlucky, you would lay there in pain for several hours until you finally died. So do yourself a favor and your family when you're working on old junk like this. Please go invest in several pairs of jack stands. What I'm going to do is take this polyurethane front nose cover off of this car. I've already done it on the other one. There's these Phillips head screws that go in a bar across the top. And there's several 10mm bolts along the bottom. And I'll show those to you when I'm done. So there's 1, 2, well, I can't even count. 1, 2, 3, 4 metal ones across the bottom. This one here, if you'll look at real close, you'll see it's damaged on the side. Well, that's what happens over a period of time when you're not paying attention when you drive up on top of a curb and you rip that piece of plastic that's hanging down there out. On top of that, there's these things under each fender well that's made out of plastic. That's right, that's a plastic nut. If you can still buy these from Honda, they have a Phillips head in the middle of them. If you can still buy these from Honda, they're very expensive. Be very careful when you're taking those apart. They can be very frustrating. When I take them out, I put them back. If you'll notice on this that I'm holding in my hand, if you can see that, there's a shoulder. It's a washer. It's a hex head, a washer, and a shoulder. And that shoulder, those are special bolts. Some of them are shouldered, some of them are not. And they go up into a special holder on that plastic piece for that front end I'm fixing to pull out.